in one way or another for 15 years. And in that time, here are two things I've become absolutely convinced of. Fast is different than slow, and large is different than small. Well, that seems pretty trivial. And yet you'd be surprised at the number of people who think, if I understand a small, slow network, right, I can just extrapolate and I will be able to understand what the future is. But in fact, one of the points I made in the book, and the hardcover came out this time last year, was that as the network speeds up, right, as we have access to more and more tools that give us real-time access to them, and as the network grows in size, both in terms of number of users, but also willingness of those users to engage in social action, we're going to start to see new kinds of effects. You can't just extrapolate from small and slow to understand the dynamics of fast and long. So between the hardcover and now, I found a story that is in the afterword of the book. It's a rewritten chapter of the book to reflect this change. Here's the story. May 12th of 2008, the Sichuan province of China suffered a 7.9 magnitude quake. And it isn't just that this quake was reported on social media. It was reported on social media as it was happening. People were SMSing one another saying, "Oh my God, the ground is shaking." They were taking out camera phones and filming, taking photos and filming the earthquake as it was happening. They were uploading it to QQ, which is China's largest internet service. They were uploading it to Twitter, which is a service for syndicating small messages among large groups. And there was literally not 1 second in which the Chinese government had the option of deciding whether or not to report that earthquake. The last time they had had an earthquake of that magnitude, it had taken them 3 months to even admit that it had happened. Right? This is in the 1970s. Fast forward to last year, there's zero chance of denying that this earthquake is going on, because by the time the officials learn of it, the news is already out. Now, it's outspread on communications networks, undersea cables, and so forth. But in addition to the fiber optic cables connecting China to the rest of the world, there are also social cables. Information doesn't just flow where it can flow. It flows where people want it to flow. Every time a Chinese graduate student comes to a university outside China and makes friends and contacts and moves home, every time a national from someplace outside China moves to a Chinese office, that social cable is strengthened. And so part of the story of the news of the earthquake getting out was that there were these tools in people's hands and these wires and satellites across which the message could flow. But part of the story of it getting out is that enough people cared about each other across the national divide that the news flowed not where traditional media was operating, but where individual concern, oh, I know a friend who works in the bank in Shanghai, I hope their family is all right, I'm going to write them an email, I'm going to send them a text. And it rocketed around. And people were sharing photos, they were building sites to accept donations within hours. Right? There were sites up that were collecting donations, like the canonical donation bar. And the amount of concern, right, that moved over the network, it wasn't just information. Right? It was deep emotional connection. I hope you're all right. Is there anything I can do to help? Here's where the donations go. Here's what you can do.